You see, if you find yourself in a transition moment where you are losing what you thought that you had, where you're losing the vision of what you thought would be a greater space, where you're losing and find yourself in a position. Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Today, I want to share with you a story that I read. It's about a young man who, like a lot of young adults, had a lot of confidence. His confidence came from initially his family giving him love, support. You know how your parents dote on you, let you know that you can basically do no wrong. Well, he kind of had that experience in his family because he was the youngest out of all of his father's children. And being a child that was born in his father's old age gave his daddy a certain something. So he loved on this young man and gave him extras and doted on him so much to the point where sometimes if you just pull a child out like that, give them more attention than you do your other children, it does something to your other kids. So unfortunately, jealousy set in because his older brothers was like, Dad never did anything like that for any of us. And so they decided that they were going to deal with him. Now, him being the youngest, with his father loving all over him and not giving the attention the same way that he did for his other children, left that bad taste in his brother's mouths. So they decided one day, we're just going to get rid of him. Now, the backdrop of the story was during a time in history where people were sold off as slaves. His brothers decided that they would sell him off to get rid of him. So this young man, about 16 or 17 years old, was taken from his family by his siblings, sold off to strangers, and carted off to a land that he knew nothing about. If you are ever put in a situation where the familiarity that you have gets ripped from you, and you're put in places and forced to do things you know nothing about, the experience that this young man went through may be something similar that you may be experiencing as well. And as I continued to read the story, the thing that caught my attention was that despite all of this happening, this young man had a sense of confidence in his ability to do certain things. You see, his confidence came from him being reassured from the time he was a young man all the way through that the skills that he had, the gifts that he brought to the table, the abilities that he could do, he was strong and confident in those things. And when he was sold off to this corporation, they needed a particular skill that he naturally possessed. So because he already had the skill, he just did what he knew to do. Because he was a slave, he wasn't paid for it. He just worked. And he had a work ethic that was given to him by his family that he continued to walk in. Because he did what was asked and kept pressing through regardless. Not a whole lot of complaints, not a whole lot of issues. He just did the thing that he was good at, confident in, strong skills about. And the overseer that was watching over all the individuals saw this young man's confidence, saw this young man's skill, and he then elevated this young man to a position over all the others. Now, he was still in the same predicament as everybody else, but his skills, his confidence elevated him in a place where there looked like there could be no elevation. Are you in an environment where you know it doesn't look like there's any elevation, but you know that what they're paying you pretty much makes it feel like you're back in the same situation as this young man? How do you press through that, break through those barriers, and get into a better position? Well, one of the first things that I learned in looking at this young man's story is you got to be confident in you. You got to be confident about the skills that you bring to the table. What is it that you do well, naturally? And if you are unsure, ask the people around you. What I often share with my clients is ask those around you one word that they know that you do well. If there is something that people keep asking you to do for them, write that down because that's a clue. And if you're unsure, those one word elements that you'll get back, that will help you get an understanding about what you bring to the table, how people truly see you, and what you can start maximizing the use of, because that right there That is your natural gift, skills, and talents. And what you can often do is enhance it by digging deep. When you go wide in your skills, that can be a good thing. But what elevates you is going deep inside of what you know. You do it almost instantaneously in a lot of areas. So if you find yourself professionally in an environment where you feel stuck, look at what you do personally, because that personal skill may be a skill that you can maximize. Because when I share information with you, my desire, especially this season, is to help you see the whole element of who you are and bring that to the table. Because you're a multifaceted being with gifts, skills, and talents buried deep in your soul. Some of them you know, others you may not. And if you are a heart-centered soul, that thing that you do naturally, the support that you give automatically, that what you bring to the table for others to feel well, to feel supported, to feel your gifting, you don't often see. Because some part of you think that because you do it naturally, it's just something that just needs to be done. But I want to encourage you today to recognize that that loving, caring support that you give, that is something that not everybody has the capability of doing. It's something that you can go deep in and pull up as a support to expand for yourself, to be elevated in one area, like you're doing it in another. So let's use this as an example. Going back to the story of this young man. You see, this young man was an individual that liked to help. He wanted to support. And in his supporting and his helping, that's what got him elevated. Now, when he got elevated in charge of all of the things that was happening in that environment, the CEO's wife saw that on top of being skilled, he was handsome. So she decided with her, we ain't even going to having a conversation about that woman. But in this story, she tried to seduce him. I get it. He was young. He was cute. Hey, it happens. But the thing that this young man did in response to her approach of that part is a clue into what you can do when you find yourself in situations that make you feel uncomfortable, when you find yourself in moments that don't really look at your skill, when you find yourself in moments that don't seem like it will give you the opportunity to bring out the best in who you are. What this man did was rely on the confidence of his values. He went straight into his core values: integrity, honesty, trust. He wanted to ensure that if all else fails on this job that I have, I keep what I brought to the table: my integrity, my values, along with my skills, my gifts, and my talents, because they may see those things, the gifts, the skills, and the talents, because that's on the surface. What they may never see unless you reveal it in a moment, like this man had to reveal: his integrity, his honesty, the fact that he could be trusted, because the owner that he was working for was away. And he probably would have never known, and I am certain that this man's wife would have never said. But the integrity that that young man had inside of him, that couldn't be compromised. And because the lady discovered that it did not work, because the young man got away and got himself out of that situation. And that's something for you. If you're in situations that make you uncomfortable, just make your exit. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. Just make your exit. Because when you do, your integrity will keep you through the process. Now, granted, when this young man did this, the lady lied on him, told her husband that he tried to seduce her and all these things, which was a lie. And the husband, I think he kind of knew some things, because in that day and age, with what this young man was accused of, people were killed for. But he was simply sent to jail. In the jail cell, the young man lost his job. Well, you know, and in losing the position that he had, he still functioned in the values that resided in his being. You see, if you find yourself in a transition moment where you are losing what you thought that you had, where you're losing the vision of what you thought would be a greater space, where you're losing and find yourself in a position that looks far worse than where you are. I want to encourage you today. Sit in the midst of your values. Operate with what you know, who you are at the core of your being, and that will give you confidence. Confidence to stand in the face of adversity, confidence to move into directions that will support you in the future. Because this young man, he still honored his core values. And in the jail cell, what happened to him? He was elevated over all the people that was there in the jail cell, second to the prison guard. How about them apples? The prison guard put him in charge of making certain every other prisoner was okay because of the integrity of this young man, because of the honesty of this young man, because of the trust of the values of this young man. And if you find yourself in a position that looks worse, sit in the midst of your values. They will help expand and make things greater. Because as you continue to read on in this young man's story, it gets better for him because he gets released from jail. And once he gets released from jail, he is asked of a different organization to do something similar that he had been doing all of his life, supporting, caring, helping, giving, those things that were natural to his being. What you have is natural to you. And I want to encourage you today to recognize that, to live in that, to function through that. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else, here's what I need you to remember. When you find yourself in places that don't allow you to elevate like you desire, find confidence in your skills and your abilities. That will give you what you need to press through when things don't look like they're going well, to press through when you find out they actually are not going well, to press through because greater is coming and your gifts will make room for you. And if anything that I've shared with you today resonates, then it's time. So like, comment, and share this information with others. And before I leave you today, let me leave you with this next level note. The role that you once played, whether it was a spouse, a professional, or full-time parent, that shaped your identity. But now, everything's changed. And with that change comes uncertainty. What if this is your opportunity to redefine you? Rediscover a newer version of yourself that's built for this moment in time. This is your chance to create that reset moment, the identity that aligns with who you really are and not just who the world expects you to be. That story that I shared with you was a reminder that the confidence that this young man had came because he was clear about who he truly is at the core of his being. And he gained that insight first from God. God assures us of who we are. And if you ever forget or don't have clear direction about who you are, ask God to tell you. If you have an appliance, let's use that as an example, and you're not sure about what to do with that, it comes with instructions. And if you can't understand the instructions and you find that it is broken, you often take that appliance back to the one that made it. I have a basic belief that we were designed in the image of the creator of the universe. And since God made us, he also knows how to fix us. So if you find yourself in a position where things aren't going well, you go to the creator. And it wasn't until I let Jesus join me on the journey that I found insight that he had already put inside of me. And just like this young man, the confidence that that young man has is something that I found that I really needed in the aftermath of my divorce. So God reminded me that I was considered a masterpiece in his eyes. If the creator of the universe decided that I am a masterpiece, who am I to let anyone tell me otherwise? And I want you to know that God loves you so much. The gifts he put in you, the skills he put in you, the love he has put inside of you. Rely on that and let that give you confidence because it'll give you confidence to trust yourself. And if you have confidence to trust yourself, then you will exude that confidence when others see it coming. They won't know why they're drawn to you. They may not fully understand all of what's going on with you. But that confidence will turn on a particular light inside of your soul. And it is there that you will feel the opportunities of growth and expansion and will be able to break through the barriers that are trying to hinder you. Be able to transform yourself in the middle of some moments that try to hold you down. Know who you are at the core of your being. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to go to my website, TanyaEhood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab and see the various ways that we can work with one another. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.